Okay, so just so you know, it's being recorded, but it's just to share with anybody in this group that wants to refer back to it later. All right, thank you all so much for your help. To kind of give you a little background, I think most of you know this information, but there's about 250 assessments that 3rd through 8th grade teachers have been working on throughout the course of the year. CFAs are like what high school calls their pre-test. CSAs are like what high school calls their post-test. But in elementary and middle school, they have one for each of the standards. So that's why the number looks so big. Now, when teachers have some options, it doesn't have to be like sit down and take this test. Oh, we got somebody else coming in. Hi, Chunyang. Okay, so that's why the number's so big, because they're given, you figure every couple weeks, teachers give some sort of assessment before they start teaching something, and then at the end of teaching it, they give another one. Now, back in December, we put almost half of those on Canvas. So already we have about 110, 115 of them on Canvas that will just need editing. The other 140-ish need to be put on Canvas. So that's where any help that you can give us would be great. The original timeline before all of this COVID closure happened was that they would be written by the coaches, reviewed by teachers around the end of March, and then we'd have April and May to get them put on Canvas. Well, obviously all those timelines were shifted and have continued to be shifted. And so now this week, teachers are doing their final review of the assessments. Coaches and principals have already done their final review. Now it's up to teachers to do a final review, and then we'll put them on Canvas. However, since coaches and principals have already done a final review, we feel like they're probably okay, and that any changes teachers make will be not minimal, but at least we won't be like wiping an entire assessment and starting over. So we feel like we can go ahead and start putting some stuff on Canvas to save us some time in the summer. So to keep all the work organized, we've got this spreadsheet. And if you look down here at the bottom, can you guys see the tabs at the bottom? Or let me close this. Okay, we move. Now can you? Okay. So down here at the bottom are the different tabs for the different grade levels. And the column that we really need to pay attention to is this Canvas Ready column. So if something says it's Canvas Ready, that means it's ready for our team to put on Canvas. Of course, we know that we still may have to make some edits in the summer, but for now, it's ready to put it on Canvas. So I'm going to walk you through how to do that in a minute. But when you're ready to put one on Canvas, you just type your name in this column so that we don't have two people working on the exact same one at the exact same time. And then when you're done with putting that on Canvas, just put an X in this column. If you have any comments to leave, like, oh, I couldn't find a good picture for that, or, you know, any kind of comment that you want to leave, just put that over here in this notes column. I'm trying to figure out where to put these. There we go. We'll just hide the pictures for now. Okay. So any questions about this spreadsheet and how we will find out what's ready for Canvas to know where to go?
Go to the 4th grade ELA so I could show the red thing.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Okay. So there was one coach who, when she was putting them on, like there were definitely a lot of changes made to the CSA, and coaches were told when you make changes to make them red in the document, and like, if you could remember, put a comment that said change in Canvas if they were already online. I think she got confused, made the whole red for the CFA, but the CFA wasn't online and the CSA was. So I unredded everything, but I'm sure there's changes to those 3. And if there's others that I could tell for sure, I did that same red X thing. But so that just means you'll have to look at the new one and the one that's currently on Canvas and figure out what the changes are, because she goofed. She tried, but she goofed.
Yes, and that's a good point. Thanks, Stacey. So if there's a check in this column already on Canvas needs editing, then that means, like, here's one that's already on Canvas. It's Canvas ready now. So all you're really doing is looking for edits.
And it should, in theory, be red if it's an edit, and it probably says
Change on Canvas.
But you'll look for red.
Yeah, we've asked coaches if there were any, yes, we've asked coaches to put any changes in red, or some did yellow highlights, something to make it stand out to us that, like, hey, what you put on Canvas back in December, these are the changes that need to be made now. So if you're looking at this column and it's already on Canvas, but it's Canvas ready, that means it's ready for its edits on Canvas. If you're looking and you see one that doesn't have anything in this column, but it's Canvas ready, that means you're going to be making it for the first time on Canvas. It was not put on Canvas in December.
And I think that there's probably some more Canvas ready ones, but people made the changes and didn't tell me. So we'll start with the ones that have X's now, and then I can always go back and say, are these ready?
Perfect. Yeah, and so as you're looking, at first what I was thinking is we'd kind of divide the grade levels by like assign a couple people to each grade level and try to knock them out. But like third grade is pretty much all Canvas ready, whereas fourth grade was like kind of half and half. Fifth grade, we'll call that half and half. And sixth grade's pretty close to having everything done. So it didn't really make as much sense to me to assign by grade levels because different grade levels had so many different, the discrepancies were different. So 7th and 8th grade though, everything was ready. So I've already gone ahead and done those. So 7th and 8th grade ELA, don't need anything. We're just looking at 3rd through 6th grade for ELA. For math, there's going to be so many changes that I think it's not going to be worth our time right now to go ahead and start putting these in. So none of them are marked as Canvas ready. If that changes over the next week or so, I'll email everybody. But for now, the only stuff that's really Canvas ready is grades 3 to 6 ELA. So the first 4 tabs on this spreadsheet. Okay, so let's pretend that you have an extra half hour or hour in your day and you're gonna pick one of these to put on Canvas for us. In the spreadsheet that I emailed, not the spreadsheet, the slides that I emailed out to everybody yesterday, there are step-by-step directions on how to put them on Canvas. I'll click through those slides pretty quickly, but you have them, so you can refer back to them as you're putting things on Canvas. But basically, you'll go into the curriculum resource, the grade level course, and I'm going to add you all to these courses. So you'd go to the 4th grade course or the 5th grade course, whatever it is. You'd click on printable CFAs first because you have to get the paper copy. You'd pull that up. Then you'd find the Tech Enhanced and pull that up. And then you'd start entering the questions. Rather than clicking through these slides, which are just screenshots, I'm going to actually go ahead and put one in so you can watch me do it and ask questions as I go. So I'm not going to do a whole CFA or CSA, but I will talk you through at least how to get started on one. So I'm going to jump to, let's see, I think I had picked one that was ready to go.
Katie, I just checked. All the 5th grade ones are ready too. So I'll go in and just double check that they made it in red if they were supposed to, and then I'll just check all those off.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so like 3RL32 is a CFA that's ready to go on. So I'm gonna go to the 3rd grade course. I'm going to go to RL32 CFA. I'm in the printable CFAs right now. And when I click on it, it pulls it up as a Google Doc. So this is the printable form that teachers could log in and print off. We're now taking this and making it Tech Enhanced. So I'm going to keep that tab pulled up so that I can copy and paste from it. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to go to quizzes. And I'm going to find the RL32 CFA. Now, you'll notice that everything already has one started. So you're not starting anything from scratch. You should never be pushing new quiz. That's because Stacy and I have already gone through and set up the rubrics and the learning outcomes for every single standard for ELA and math. So you won't have to worry about doing any rubrics or any learning outcomes as you're going. So I'm looking for 3RL32 CFA. So this is the one that I'm going to be working on. I just click on it and it's going to pull up a blank assessment because I haven't started it.
And Katie, you have like a paper or something that shows us how to do this?
Yes, these are all the slides. I just thought it'd be, there's screenshots of every step of the way that I'm just going to walk you through. But yes, good question. Okay, so we've got it pulled up. Now, one of the most important things to remember is we're doing these in new quizzes so that you can have the passage on the left side of the screen and the questions on the right. So to do that, you'll always want to add a stimulus, especially in ELA. If we get to math, it might not be true for math. You might not necessarily need a picture on one side and a question on the other. But anytime you need like a picture or a passage to appear on the left with the question on the right, you have to add a stimulus. So I'm going to add a stimulus. I usually just give it the title, read the passage below. And then I'm going to go back to the assessment and I'm going to copy and paste the passage. And this is called Our Photos. Our Photos. I pasted the passage. I kind of glance over, make sure it looks okay. Those are kind of big spaces. I'll see how it looks. I'll center the title. So you just kind of clean it up once you get it in there. And then when you look at it, I think those spaces look okay. Sometimes the spaces are really big. Sometimes they just smush them all back together and you have to go in and push enter in between. Um, and then what you'll want to do is find a photo. And the rule that I've been using is the photos really help break it up for the kids as they're reading, so it's not just one huge body of text. If it's only like a paragraph, it probably doesn't need a photo. But if it's a couple paragraphs, and especially in the older grades when they get into like long passages, that's where we want to break it up with a couple of photos. So I've been trying to use Creative Commons for photos as much as possible just because of the copyright. If I really can't find anything, then I'll do a Google search and I'll just try to find a site that is like a edu or something that's not like Wikipedia or another .com. Kevin, I don't know if you have any other tips for finding photos or if that seems like a okay plan.
Yeah, Unsplash, UN Splash.
Okay.
Those are royalty free, and
Okay.
that's what Canvas recommends. In fact, if you look to upload an image in Canvas, they'll have one of the options is Unsplash.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll put that in the slides so that we remember that, Unsplash. The thing about adding photos when you go to add one is you can't just copy and paste a photo in. You have to actually like save the photo and then bring it in. So let's see, what is this passage about? Baby pictures. Oh, roller skates. Okay, so I'm looking for like baby pictures or roller skates. Again, just trying to find something that'll break up the text and kind of help the kids understand if they're not sure what the passage is about. We'll go with roller skates on this one. I'll try Unsplash. Is it just Unsplash? Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna look up kids roller skates. Maybe just roller skates. Oh, those are perfect. I think it even talked about them being pink. Okay, I've never used Unsplash before. I don't know what that's gonna do. Let's try just right clicking. So I'll save the image as roller skates. And then when I go back here, I'm going to find where I want to put it in the passage. Click to add my photo. And import it. And you can center it. Now, I will say that even though it shows up here sometimes, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to show up for the students. So what I would recommend is after you've added your photo, go ahead and hit preview and make sure that the students will see the photo too. So anytime you're working on building an assessment and you want to see what the students will see, click on that preview. Maybe I have to attach a question before that stimulus comes up. We'll try it. Okay, so I'm ready to add my first question. The first question on this one is a multiple choice. They say circle who is talking. Canvas doesn't really give you that option, so multiple choice will ask the question the same type of way. So I'm going to highlight the question. Guess who this is? My mom said, and then the choices are going to be mom and narrator. This is a level 1 question. You can see that here. It's important that we label that in 2 places. So when you attach a question, we're going to attach a multiple choice question. We're going to put level 1 up here. And then we're also going to put the level 1 here. This is important because when teachers are actually grading the assessment, they can't see this level 1 up here. They can only see it if it's in the body of the text, we've learned. So when they're trying to grade using their rubric, they need to be able to see that. Now, if you don't know the right answer to the question, like maybe you haven't read the passage, totally fine. There are answer keys in all of these at the end. So if you scroll to the bottom, the last page or last couple of pages will be the answer key. So in this one, the answer is bolded, it's mom. And then I'll hit done. I've added the question, level 1. Guess who this is, my mom said. And the correct answer is mom. Now let's try previewing it and see if it works. Okay, so now you can see the passages there with a picture and then the question. I noticed as I was looking, this bottom one is centered as opposed to being over on the left, so I'll have to fix that. So that's why it's good to go into preview. You'll notice little formatting things. Okay, so then I'll exit my preview, go back to building. Now, if I want to attach another question to this same story, I hit attach question here. I'm going to attach another question. And I believe the next question is multiple choice as well. Yes, it is. It's a level 2 question now. So I'll just copy the question. Choices are mom and narrator again. I put level 2 here. I put level 2 again here. And then I paste the question. And the answers are mom, narrator. And then if you don't need the answers, you just delete them here. Okay. So that's pretty much how you add a stimulus with some questions. I've only added multiple choice questions, but you'll notice as you're going through, a lot of the questions are not multiple choice, which is good because we encouraged coaches to try to use as many different types of questions as possible. But sometimes if they weren't really familiar with Canvas, they created a question that just can't be put on Canvas the way they were thinking it would. So you'll just have to try to adjust them the best that you can to make sure that you're asking the same question they were asking. So like this next page, I know there's one. I'm not going to enter this because I don't want to make you watch me enter more questions, but basically I would do a new passage. I'd attach new questions to that stimulus, but this one, they want you to sort these statements into narrator or Andy. So this could be like a categorization question on Canvas. And I did make a list back in our slides of the different types of questions you can do on Tech Enhanced. So when you're trying to pick which kind of question it should be, you can go here. I will say that pretty much anything, usually anything level 3 or beyond ends up being an extended response type question, which is an essay on Canvas. Those are a little bit easier to enter because you don't have to enter the correct answers. You just enter the question. So you're going to go through the whole assessment, get it all entered, preview it, make sure it looks like you thought it would. And then the last thing you're going to do, and again, this is on the directions, but you'll click on settings. And we want to have one question show up on the screen at a time. And we can allow the kids to go back. That's fine. And then we want to restrict their student views. This is something that came up this year as people were trying them out. They want at the end to show the items and questions and the student response and item feedback. So if a teacher goes back in and gives them feedback, they want to see that and they want to see the student responses. What they don't want the students to see, what was happening is a student wouldn't get done taking the assessment and it'd pop up like, you got 50% on this assessment. It's because like the essays weren't graded yet, or, you know, short answers hadn't been scored by the teacher. It was only grading the multiple choice or fill in the blank or things that Canvas can grade. And so kids were getting worried that their scores were super low, but it's just because it was showing them their points awarded as soon as they were done and the teachers hadn't graded it yet. Okay,
so Katie,
so
we have to make that change to all of them, even if they're already on Canvas. We should definitely double check that.
Double check it. We went back in and changed it on some of them, but definitely go back in and double check it. So at the end, if you could go in and check the settings on all the ones that you're working on, and then you just hit return and it'll take you back to the list. So we just created like half of one basically. It was RL32, so I could go in here, RL32, we were working on this one. And then whenever I get done with it, I would just put an X right here. And if I had any comments like need roller skating picture, you could leave that there. And then that way we know what still needs to be done. So if you're having trouble finding an image, or say you're having trouble formatting a certain question or a piece of text, you can put that in the notes here and we can look at it later. So everything that you need should be in this slideshow. There's a link to the spreadsheet there. I'm going to go in and add you all to those Canvas courses as soon as we get off this call. So you'll be able to go in and find everything that you need, and then the step-by-step directions on how to add things as Tech Enhanced are in here. I did include a few tips that I want to talk through here at the end. The labeling the questions, always put the level and the DOK in the question title and the body of the question. That's where I was showing you to put it in the 2 places. Clicking on preview to make sure that you know what the students will see, and then making sure the text size is at least 12. So sometimes when you bring things over from the Google document, they have it in like size 10 or even size 9. Make sure that it's size 12 so the kids can read it on their iPads. And then some other helpful tips for ELA. This is where I'll put that from Unsplash. So including at least 1 picture in the reading passages, and then looking at the passage, the stimulus, just to make sure that it's spaced correctly. As I mentioned, sometimes they bring in and they look kind of crazy. If we get to math in the next couple weeks, there are some helpful tips for math. But since we're not there, I'll just leave those there for you to read over later. Okay, what questions do you have about putting things on Canvas as tech enhanced assessments?
So are we all just going to the spreadsheet and picking whichever one we want to do?
That's a good question. So yeah, so I know that everybody's time is going to be limited over the next few weeks. And so if you can only get in and knock out a couple, that'll still save us time in the long run. But anytime that you've got a chance and you want to log in, just go in here, find one. If you're more comfortable editing ones that are already on there, look at the ones that have already been put on Canvas and choose one of those and put your name here. If you feel confident jumping in and putting them on Canvas yourself, then you'll look for one that's blank in this column and put your name here and go for it. I would just make sure that you do put your name in here before you start so that we don't have 2 people working on the same one. And Stacy said 5th grade is going to be in pretty good shape here in a minute too. So 3rd and 5th grade will have the most, and then 4th and 6th about halfway.
One of the coaches thinks she might have forgotten to put it in red if it was so for 5th grade, I'm going to double check each one.
Okay. Perfect.
And I will highlight it in red I don't know what the original looked like. I'll just put it in red.
Okay. Yeah.
Hi. I still don't understand what being in red means. Like, what are you talking about?
Good question. So when they were entered back into, so half of these assessments were written way back in December.
Okay.
And when they were written in December, we put them on Canvas in December and people have been using them. In like March and April, there have been edits made. So we need to go back and make those edits now on Canvas. So our hope was—
the printable ones or the ones that are actually on Canvas?
Well, so the coaches have been making the edits to the printable in Google. We need to take those edits and put them on Canvas, but we didn't want to have to look back and see like, where did they change a word? Did they change a question? So they were supposed to be highlighting any change that they made in red, so that we just had to look for the red on Google and then change that in Canvas.
Okay, so it's red in the Google Doc.
Yes, if it's red in the Google Doc.
What does it mean if it's red in the Excel spreadsheet or the Google sheet?
So if it's red on here, Stacy, explain that one again. It means
that means the coach did not make it red in the Google Doc like they were supposed to. They made changes, but didn't tell us what those changes were. So whoever edits those needs to look at the Canvas while looking. So anybody with 2 screens is the ideal person to do those, because that way you can look at one and the other without flipping back and forth.
Okay, so looking at both. So which one should we be going with? The one in the Google Sheet, or sorry,
Yes.
The one in the Google Doc is what we want to look at as the version we want on Canvas.
Correct. Everything in the Google Docs is what we're trying to bring into Canvas. The problem is that when people were editing in Google, they weren't really telling us what they were editing. So now we're like, wait, what changes did you make? Because now we have to make them on Canvas.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
So I will say there's teachers currently this week in those Google Docs making edits. So but they're making them via comment. They're just putting comments.
Yeah.
If you see a comment that looks like it's going to be super controversial, like they're like, this passage sucks, don't bother putting that one online because that could be a big deal. Some are just going to be little changes, and we've already told people we're not necessarily agreeing with every change they want to make either. So we can make little changes later, but if you see it says doesn't align with the scale, this should be the CSA instead of the CFA or something like that, then hold off on doing that one.
Yeah, definitely. So, but yeah, what Stacy said about the comments is true. So teachers can only make comments right now. So anything that's actually in the Google Doc will stay. Teachers won't be able to edit that. So we can copy and paste from that straight into Canvas.
Do you think there are some that are safer to do than others?
The ones that have the X's. That's why some don't have X's yet, because they are still questionable.
Yeah. So the ones
that
with
have the X's.
the ones that have
are on Canvas already.
the ones
No?
that have X's in the Canvas ready column.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
I got it.
Those
Yeah.
are ones that have been reviewed by elementary principals and the elementary instructional coaches, and they feel fairly confident in them.
Okay.
We're still doing one more round of final edits with teachers, but we're thinking that the edits would be minimal.
Got it.
So the items that are marked in the column D, they're ready to be entered.
Yes.
And then when we enter in Canvas, then we mark in the column F.
Yes. Yes. So you'll put your name in column E for
Right.
who will put on Canvas, and then when they're in there, put an X in column F.
Got it.
Yes. So over the next couple weeks, we'll just try to knock as many of these out as possible. The biggest thing that I've been told is they all have to be on Canvas, ready for teacher use by the start of the school year. And we're obviously going to be losing a lot of people to summer vacation. So we're trying to get as much done as possible before summer vacation hits. So anything that you can get done in the next couple weeks will be helpful, but definitely if you have other priorities, don't push those aside to get these done or anything like that. Any other thoughts or questions before we log off here today?
Katie, I don't
yeah.
think I'm in the Google Slides. I've been added to the Google Slides. Can you add me?
Yes, definitely. I will do that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Where is that presentation on how to do them again? Are you going to email that to us, or is that?
Yeah, I emailed it in yesterday when I emailed everybody about this meeting. I linked the slides in that email, but I'll send it out again with the video recording of this meeting that we just had so that everybody has both.
All right. I have a 10 o'clock. I have to go. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you, Lizzie. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
If you have any
Thank you.
questions, just let me know. Thank you all
Thank you.
so much for your
Thank you.
help.
Thank you, Katie.
Thanks, Susan.